we go. Hey guys, what's going on? Unlimited Magic here, and welcome back to my channel. Not to a series, but to a specific channel. Now, if you clicked on the video, you're obviously you clearly know that this is something new. This is called the MagiCast. I was gonna go with Magic Pod, but I'm like, that doesn't make sense. MagiCast, and welcome where we use our magical ability to talk, and we discuss things that have been recent, that are video games, that are video game related or just entertainment. So that's video games, movies, TV shows, anime, entertainment in as a whole, anything around that. So that's what this podcast is going to be about. Now, this is my first intro, so my first time is kind of get into it and just go. And today, as you can clearly see from the thumbnail, we're going to be talking about Jumanji. Jumanji. So if those of you that don't know or haven't seen it or didn't even know that this exists, it's a movie. Who is it starring again? I know it stars The Rock. It stars Kevin Hart. It's Jack Black, and then I forget the girl's name. I forgot what her name is. That's producers. Karen Gillian, there you go, and Karen Gillian. So those are the four main. Oh, right, and Chris Jonas. Is it Chris or is it Nick? Sorry, Nick Jonas. My bad. Starting off one of these fantastically. Apparently, I really know what I'm talking about. But those are the five main stars. I can't say that Nick Jonas is really a main character. He's a character. We'll put it that way, and I'll get into why I think that a bit later. But so this is spoiler. I'll have a spoiler thing at the beginning, but this is a spoiler. Spoiler. Aheads. English. So there are spoilers ahead. That's proper English. And without wasting any more time, let's get into it. So first thoughts on the movie. Fantastic movie. If you haven't seen it and you like comedy, this is a great movie to get into. I love it. I think the actors all have really strong performances opposed from Nick Jonas. But I think all the actors have had most actors have had a really good, strong run in this movie. And I'll get to why I think most. I think the movie is great. I think that the plot points hit really well. I think the idea of the movie is well executed, but there are some points I would change. Now, the biggest thing that I didn't like, is that Kevin Hart is actually he's really good at being an actor. He's a great actor, and I think that's he's good at what he does. But people need to remember that Kevin Hart is a comedian first and an actor second. And the biggest thing is that I noticed that his role in this was kind of weak. Like because it doesn't fit his usual style of movies. He's very much like, his movies are more just being himself and saying and kind of being the comedian that he is on stage, but just in a movie. And this movie doesn't really allow him to do that, I guess, because it's not really like it doesn't just because of the way it's set up. Because if for those of you that have watched it, and I'm assuming all people who are watching this because there's spoilers, you know what I'm talking about. When the kids first go from the beginning into the game, the characters in the game are supposed to reflect them outside of the game. Well, not the characters themselves, but how they act and everything. It's their minds in those bodies. And so the biggest thing with Kevin Hart is that, like, I know what they were going for, because Kevin Hart's small and he makes jokes about being small and not super strong, which is kind of weird because Kevin Hart is jacked. Like, he is strong, man. But that's different. That's a different conversation. So I just think that the way they had that character, which was Fridge, was the name of the character. It was Fridge. Not the game character, the movie character, the character that was before they got into the game, Fridge. And he seemed like, I know what they were going for, but the execution was really weak. Like, they could have given him a lot more lines, and the emotional attachment to Spencer, who was the weak, scrawny kid, who was afraid of everything. They were friends, and like they did that, like they kind of threw that in very awkwardly. I'm not gonna lie. Like, oh, we were best friends, and now he's a big cool jock dude. And then they're in the game, and now now Spencer's the big cool. I can't really say jock, but he's the big cool strong dude now. And I guess the idea was that Fridge really knew how he felt now, and yay, things are great. But I just think that there wasn't enough conflict between those two because the solution was too quick. The solution to the quote unquote conflict was too quick. That's what I'm gonna say. And it was just like there was no build up to that. But on the other hand, between Spencer and the girl, not Bethany, the girl, what's her name? What was the girl's name in the movie? Doesn't say here. But the girl that Spencer was in love with or liked or whatever, that was that was good because it was like they at least built it up enough. Like they built it up enough that the payoff was funny and both funny and effective. Because when I say funny, is they built it up, and then they both screwed up the kiss. Like, come on, have they never seen a movie? How do you screw up the kiss? But it was great. Like, I love the way they did it. I thought it was great, just in the sense of like, it makes sense because everybody's first ever kiss, or at least most people's first ever kiss, is pretty bad. Like if I think back to my first kiss, it's pretty bad. Like, I don't even want to think about it. It makes me cringe. I'm not even kidding. So first kisses are bad, but it's like the way they built it up and did it was really, really good. But that love story still went like up. Like it was like a build up. You got to the peak, and then it just dropped to zero real quick. Like it was basically done right after that, which made no sense to me. But I was okay with it. These are like small pet peeves. They don't change the movie like really all that much. It's like you watch it. It's really one of those movies that you go in, you don't analyze it. You just don't. You go in, you turn off your brain, and you have a good time. But there are other things. There's one thing that actually made me upset with this movie, and I'll get to that later. The second thing I was going to talk about was Nick Jonas's. So his character was called Alex, and Nick Jonas was really, in my opinion, really weak. It was just, he was introduced way too late, in my opinion, and by the time he was introduced, he had barely like any reason to be there, I guess, because they opened it like that, like they opened the movie like that, so they had to incorporate him, which I get it, but it was too on the nose with the whole like, you've been in there for 25 years or 20 years, and then he kind of like freaked out, which I get. Like I would understand that anyone freaked out, but it was just too like it was just, the scenarios were too perfect. He only had 2 lives. He's been in there for 20 years. Like, it was just like they were introduced him too late, that the emotional feel of what they were trying to go for, I didn't feel it. I'm not gonna lie. I was just like, oh, okay, he's been there in 20 years. We didn't see anybody actually die. That's the thing that I think made the emotional feel not so great. Like, if they had maybe one more player in there and they actually die, like kind of like a not so important character, and they had like 3 lives like everybody else, they went through their lives really quickly and they died, that would give more aspect of like, okay, they're gone, they're permanently gone. And therefore, when Nick Jonas like kind of freaked out with everything, I was like, that would have made more of an impact. It would have been like, okay, like I actually see what he's freaking out about, because we never really saw anyone die. We just assumed that was the case. And although we assume, it's not the same thing as seeing. The same thing, it's if they saw and it was like an emotional moment that they built up to, it would have been a different thing than just assuming that they're gonna die if they run out of lives, like a game over type thing. Because they kind of explained it incorrectly. Because when you get a game over in a game, you just start from the beginning. Like you just start all over again. It's not like you literally die. So like I get what they were going with, but I think having an actual scene where somebody died would have made more of an impact. It just it annoyed me in terms of like they sped things up too much. And when I say they sped things up too much, they sped things up because of the intro. Like the way they opened it up with those kids, like Spencer, Bethany, Fridge, and that's the one girl that I can't remember her name. the actor's name I think is Morgan Turner, but like those four, like they spent too much time analyzing those characters, which I get because of the way they went through the movie, where they're like, everybody's character was a reflection of what they hated or what they weren't. So Spencer, the kid that was afraid of everything, became the big, brave, like big, strong, brave dude, like the Rock. He became the Rock. Bethany, the girl who was on her phone and was like the perfect, pretty, popular, all of these the best, most prettiest girl in the school and everything. She became a fat dude, which, I mean, no offense to Jack Black, he's not actually fat, but it was just compared to what she is, that's considered fat. Like, it just in comparison. But he was like, it's like an overweight, like more or less overweight. And it was like, so she transformed into the thing she completely hated the most, right? Like it was the complete opposite of her. Same thing with Spencer, complete opposite of him. And then, what's it called? Fridge, tall, big, on the football team. And he's super popular as well. Became this small, weak, kind of just second income, like not even, kind of the weakest link, which was the complete opposite. So they were all the opposites of what they were in the life. But I think that, like in the real life, but I think that they could have easily done that, and shortened it by at least twice short. Like they had it for so long. I think the first half an hour of the movie is like half an hour to 45 minutes. I don't know exactly, but I feel like the first half an hour to 45 minutes is about them and just building up their characters, which they could have done a lot quicker. It doesn't take much to build up those types of characters. Like, you see the characters, you hear the characters, like you understand who they are really quickly, because these are technically supposed to be people that you know in real life, because they're supposed to be like that stereotype. But I think that they spent too much time building it up, and therefore they didn't leave enough time to build up them in the other world, like in the game, because each of them realized and found something about themselves in the game. Spencer realized he doesn't need to be afraid. He's a lot more confident, and he can be that confident, less scared guy. Bethany realized that it's not the only thing in the world is phones, technology, and being popular. The girl that was in love with Spencer, still can't remember her name. She realized that she doesn't need to be aggressive against everything. She doesn't need to only focus on school and what's it called? There are other people that are like her, and she doesn't have to be alone, I guess. I don't really know. She was kind of like the weird one. And Fridge realized that he can't always be the big one. He needs to chill out, and that, appearances and everything don't matter as much as he thinks they do. And football isn't the only thing to life, which is kind of very similar to Bethany in terms of the approach. So, in terms of what they were realizing, which I get, but I think that they could have spent more time in the actual movie itself, in the game, not the movie itself, the game, in the game, with the characters coming to terms, because I understand that it's a comedy, but the comedy would have worked so much better, I think, if they had more emotional points. Because they could have had emotional points that were turned into comedy, and they could have had comedy that turned into emotional points, and then they could have had comedy by itself, and then emotional points and the emotional aspect by itself as well. It would have been a good mix, in my opinion. It would have been good to have both of them together. And it was just, I think that the movie was a good length. I think the 2-hour length was good. I just don't like that they spent so much of the beginning part of the movie building up into the game and these characters. I think that they should have spent more time building up Spencer, like all the characters in this. So The Rock, I'm just gonna go by the actors' names at this point. The Rock being more like coming to terms of like, okay, like in this game, he's a big bad dude, but really it all comes down, like he could be the biggest, baddest dude, but if he's afraid mentally, like it doesn't matter how big or how strong he is. What's it called? Karen Gillian, the one who played the badass kind of, like the badass sexy girl, I guess. She, like, which was the girl that I can't remember her name for some reason, but she was like, she had to come to terms that she actually can be badass. And the biggest, I think the theme was that everybody was something that they weren't used to, and they realized something that they they were against, I guess. You know, Karen Gillian realizing, like, that girl, the nerdy girl, realizing that she's not as nerdy as she thinks, and that she can do more with her life. She's more adventurous. Kevin Hart, being Fridge, realized that it's like there's like football and being big and being popular isn't the only thing. And Jack Black, being Bethany, realized that the phone isn't everything, because the entire movie she's talking about her phone, and that's not, the phone isn't the only thing to life, I guess. Because at the end of the movie, you kind of see them, because at the end, when they you know, they get out of the game and blah, blah, yada yada, you see Fridge is standing next to Spencer, and then you see Bethany talking to her friend, says that she wants to go backpacking, and her friend's like, "What, are you insane? Like, what do you mean backpacking?" And it's like they all came to, like, they kind of learned that there's more to life, there's more to the world, I guess. And then you see Spencer gaining a little bit more confidence. You see him being friends with Fridge, friends with Bethany, and then you see him go and properly kiss the girl now. And that was a moment. Like, you see, that moment was good, but because there was a build up to that moment. We saw them mess up the kiss. We saw them kind of like they confessing their love, I guess. I feel like that's way too of a serious term, I guess, whatever. But like, they're confessing their love to each other, whatever, in the game, but you don't get to fully experience the moment because the game is like, okay, you got to keep moving or you're gonna die. Like, you got to get past these levels, blah blah blah. And so, like, I just think that they spend too much time before the game and not in the actual game, the main parts of the movie, which I felt like were lacking a little bit. But the movie was still good overall with what they had to work with the time frame that they put into it. They still did good. Again, you don't see me talking much about Nick Jonas because he literally was in the movie for like half an hour. Like, that's what it felt like. It felt like he was in there for half an hour, and he had like not that many lines, and he wasn't really impactful. Like, he's really not memorable. That's what that kind of ticked me off. They had such a good cast, but like, it ticked me off that Nick Jonas was kind of like left behind. But you know, I can't say anything else about that. That's just what it felt like to me. But Jack Black is super underrated. He performs so well to be able to completely just not even act like a guy. Like, he was able to completely immerse himself in like the woman atmosphere, I guess. Like, that's ridiculous. And like, he is an outstanding actor, I have to say. But they're all outstanding. I think the Dwayne Johnson, Karen Gillian, Kevin Hart, Jack Black, Nick Jonas, for what he had and what he was worth, like what he had to do, was good. And even the characters before, although they're not that great, but Madison Eisman, Alex Wolff, Morgan Turner, and where's Fridge's actor? And Darius Blaine, because I don't know how to say his full name. Like, those are the 4 kids outside of the game. They're also pretty good. Like, I thought they had good facial expressions. I thought their acting was really on point as well. Like, the movie as a whole worked together, but I think there were a lot of points that could have been better. Now, to talk about the one thing that I absolutely hate. When Nick Jonas and everybody else got out of the game, Nick Jonas's character was sent back in time and lived his life from there, which annoyed me because that technically messes up the entire timeline. I would have been happier, and it would have just made more sense to have him come back, his parents being happy that he's back, and because his parents were still alive at the time, so like, you know, they're still around. That he was found at that time. And then he at least could have attended high school and then could have been with Bethany, and it would have made for such a more fulfilling ending. I felt like that when he came back as an adult, that made me really, like, I was like, no, like, it doesn't feel like that's the ending. It was like, that's not the ending. Like, that should not be the ending. At least in my opinion. I just got really annoyed with the whole time traveling, sent back in time type thing. It just, like, it makes sense because it's all like fantasy type thing, but it doesn't make sense on a scientific level. And at the same time, it just bothers me that that's the ending. Because it's like, but that shouldn't be the ending. Like, Bethany should have got her happy ending with him. Like, but the movie was overall really, really, really good. I think that the comedy was spot on. I think the emotional parts could have been better. But the acting was also spot on. And I think that the idea of the movie was fantastic. And for the remake, I haven't actually seen the Jumanji from, what was it, what is it? I don't actually remember what 1995. So I haven't seen the 1995 Jumanji, which I kind of want to see with Robin Williams. I do want to watch it because it does look pretty good. I have heard that it is actually a classic and it's a really cool, good one. But I can't compare them. But I will say that if I had to rate the movie for this 2017 Jumanji, which is weird to say in 2018 now. All right. Anyways, if I had to rate it, I would give it I'd honestly give it what it has right now. I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10. Honestly, I think there's a lot of room for improvement, but for what it was going for and the actors that it had and everything else taking consideration, I think it was great. And just to end it off with a great, like a good note, The Rock's ability, what was it, to smolder? Well, I don't remember what it was exactly. Was, I think, one of the best, funniest things. I love it because it's so true how he can do that, and it's like so impactful and serious, and like you're kind of just like, holy moly. But either way, that is gonna wrap it up for today's podcast. Now, if you don't know, I'm gonna make a separate video talking about when it's gonna come out, what I'm gonna do, more specifically just about what they are gonna be. Just for those who don't know or haven't missed it or kind of starting in later on. Either way, hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys want to see on maybe other podcasts in the future. And I'll try to get to doing those. If you guys want me to talk about anime, movies, TV shows, honestly, books are even good. Anything to do with entertainment is good. And yep, so either way, hope you guys enjoyed. Please rate, comment, subscribe, do all the fun stuff that you guys always do. Hit that like button to show me that you guys are enjoying this. I know this is going to be a smaller audience than the typical gaming stuff, but I really want to do this. I've been meaning to do this for a long time. So these will be a occurrence every Saturday. Not every Saturday right away. It's probably going to be every 2 Saturdays, two times a month. That way I can record them, maybe edit them, kind of see what I want to do with them. And yeah, so either way, I hope you guys enjoy. Please rate, comment, subscribe. I already said all that. Peace out. See you later. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you guys next time.